We're looking for cheap, handcuff, backup running backs to stash on our fantasy football teams, on our depth chart, on our bench, to hold to see what happens with. One running back for this case is Bucky Irving for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're going to look at his analytics, his advanced metrics, look at his situation and everything else to see whether or not you need him for fantasy football. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're doing these deep dives every day. We're looking at those waiver wire players. We're looking at those rookies, those guys who are climbing up the depth chart every day throughout the season. We'll be talking about the waiver wire. We'll be doing deep dives on the top waiver wire players and the guys climbing and falling down the depth chart. Click that button. Stop missing out because we're going to help you set your lineups too. But let's listen to the coach here and what he has to say about the competition and the offense and the running back situation with him and Rachaad White and everybody else.
I think it'll be a game-by-game basis. You normally go with the hot hand, but since nobody has played yet, obviously Rachaad starts, and then we'll kind of go from there and see how the other guys are used.
Typical coach speak here. He's rolling with the hot hand. That's what he's looking for. Rachaad White, obviously going to be the starter. Nobody's usurping or taking his job, but something to look out nonetheless when you're looking at these prospects, because a guy like this, Bucky Irving, although he was not heavily recruited out of high school, some Power 5 programs after him and regarded as a 4th to 7th round grade, a day 3 guy coming out of high school, has some merits to his game, was productive once he transferred to Oregon, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, good catching the ball out of the backfield, averaged 4.36 yards after contact per attempt his first year there, 3.99 last year. He is very good running between the tackles. He's got good vision. He's got good contact balance for his size as well. He's also good at catching the ball out of the backfield, 9.6 yards after the catch per reception. So he's able to get you a little bit juice after the catch. You look at his speed, 4.55 40-yard dash. Size adjusted speed score is low because he's under 200 pounds. Most running backs in the NFL, 200 or above. You're not expecting him to carry the rock, but you're expecting him to run it between the tackles, the shade, catch some balls out of the backfield, be a good receiving option out of the backfield as an ancillary role player. On top of that, if something happens to Rachaad White, he's going to be in a large workload catching the ball out of the backfield, getting those money touches. And even though he ran a 4.55, we can hit 21 miles per hour on the field, almost 22 miles per hour. He's got speed to burn. He can cook a little bit. And his size-adjusted speed score, his speed is lower compared to a lot of prospects. Going back to here, though, he can cook on the field. He can line up in the slot as a wide receiver. He can run it between the tackles. He's got good vision. He's got good contact balance. Size is a little bit of an issue, but not every running back's going to be 220 pounds, 215 pounds anyways. And when you look at this backfield, there's not much competition of consequence. We're keeping our eyes on Sean Tucker, a big-time prospect coming out of Syracuse who fell in the draft due to a heart condition that's now trying to work his way back up from last year. But Bucky Irving's good between the tackles, good catching balls out of the backfield. Everybody's been talking him up, been looking good in training camp and preseason, and we're not looking at him as an innate starter for a fantasy team. We're looking at him as a handcuff, and we're talking about all the handcuffs pretty much from the rookie class. All of them, and you just pick your poison. And when we're doing that, we're looking at Rachaad White, who gets a lot of work and gets a lot of fantasy production and RB1. No shade on him, but running backs who get a lot of touches and opportunities, targets and touches out of the backfield, they tend to go down. Once you run into enough big defensive linemen, you start to break down. 20.1 opportunities per game, on the upside around 27 in a game multiple times. That's a lot of workload. The knock on him was the efficiency, but honestly, when I look at it, he's very good in the passing game. There are some numbers where it's okay in the efficiency and some other where he's ranked kind of low, like 57th in true yards per carry, 23rd in the league, yards created per touch, yards per touch, 33rd among running backs. So he is low in some numbers there when it comes to efficiency, but very good at catching the ball in the backfield, good at running routes, and guess what? Bucky Irving fits that mold. He's good at running routes, he's good at catching the ball in the backfield, but can be used a little bit as your traditional running back as well, just like Rachaad White, but he's just a little smaller, and Rachaad White gets the workload. 813 snaps last year. He gets the targets, 13% target share, which is very high for a running back, and he should be getting the workload, but we're not looking at whether or not he's getting the workload. We're looking at what happens if Rachaad White goes down and Baker Mayfield targets the running back on 15% of his pass attempts, and prior to that at Carolina it was 20%. He will either go deep to the wide receivers or go to the running back or the shorter outlet, which is common sense, but not always. You'll see different percentages with these quarterbacks. A 20% hit rate with Carolina and 15% with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lets you know that the running backs are involved in this offense. So running backs catching passes out of the backfield, that's what you want in PPR leagues. So if something happens to Rachaad White, you're going to be looking at the next running back up. But you don't need him for redraft. You don't need him for your traditional fantasy league. That's not what this video is for. It says you need, but you need to watch him. You need to look at him as a cuff to White. That's what you need to look at him. People are drafting him as that, or drafted him as that on Underdog Fantasy. He's got some upside. He's got some goods to his game. He's just a player to pay attention to. And we do these videos for players you need to pay attention to most of the time. And that's what it is. And you need to pay attention to him off waivers. You need to pay attention to the backfield, the touches behind Rachaad White, the snaps behind Rachaad White, and what they're doing on the field. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.